rear double bicep.
We don't pick the contestants, they qualify through competitions. Top 10 from last year, top 3 from Grand Prix events, top 5 from the Arnold Classic or the Night of Champions. So each one has earned their way here. The judges are having a tough time. In fact, after the first round, there's only 1 point difference between two competitors. And the scores are very, very close, but that's the way it is in the IFBB. We have the best, and it's a very close competition, but the best will always win.
From a judging point of view, it's important that the athletes understand that they must present what they have as quickly and as completely as possible. As a competitor, you go on stage and you think that the judge will see you at some time during the contest, and it doesn't matter like when they see you. If you look good enough, you'll be put in your proper place. As a judge, you see that the judging has to go as quickly as possible. So if you don't show what you have straight away, you can actually be put aside and actually missed in the contest. And if you're seen too late, sometimes it's too late to come back into the scoring.
Prejudging is the actual show, that's the competitive part of it, that's where we come to battle, that's the field of battle. The night show is more or less entertainment, where you can bring the closeness of the audience and the competitors. Oh, I love the evening show. I think that the best part about it for me is the audience, because after you do all the hard work, 12 weeks of dieting, all the training, everything you go through, once you get to that stage and the audience, shows your appreciation through their claps, their yells, their screams, there's no other moment like it.
You're looking for muscle size, muscle density, fullness in the muscle, the shape of the muscle. Then you're looking on the symmetry of the whole body, how it's put together, top to bottom, right to left, and just how it flows. Someone could have wonderful body parts, but put together, they don't flow as someone who has maybe lesser parts. So you're looking at the total body, how it's put together, the total package, the hardness, the size, the symmetry, the development. It's a complete package.
Front double bicep.
The Finnish people are going to see the world's best professional bodybuilders.
This year there will be a new Mr. Olympia. For the past 8 years we've experienced the dominance of Lee Haney, and previous to that we've experienced the dominance of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But this year, Saturday evening, a new Mr. Olympia will be crowned.
You've got Dorian Yates, who came second last year after Lee Haney, but then you got Lou Ferrigno, who made a comeback after 17 years. And we cannot forget, of course, Lee Labrada, Sean Ray, and all the other champions.
The prize money has been generated to the level of $275,000 with a $100,000 first prize.
So that comes mainly from, some from television, some from sponsors, and some from ticket sales, because the ticket sales are very expensive. Some tickets are $250 a ticket, and it's very strange. They're the tickets that sell the fastest.
There's going to be 23 competitors in this event. They are all either national or world champions in their own right, and I think that there's a greater number, at least from the sneak peeks that I've been privileged to the past few days before the competition, there's a greater percentage of athletes who have done the best job at minimizing their body fat and their subcutaneous water, and they are in peak condition more so than any other contest I've ever seen before.
There's a certain electricity in the air because the athletes know that a new Mr. Olympia will be crowned. But Lee Haney or not, the Mr. Olympia stands on its own 2 feet.
With the absence of Lee Haney, was a little bit hungrier in a sense that I've always wanted to be Mr. Olympia and the next Mr. Olympia, whether he's here or not.
I don't see why a competitor would have to have Lee Haney absent from a contest to still have motivation and drive and determination and want to win.
The athlete that's been receiving the most attention in the press is an English gentleman by the name of Dorian Yates. Dorian came in to the Olympia last year. It was his first Mr. Olympia, and he actually was able to beat Leigh Haney in one of the prejudging rounds, and as a result he came in second place as a final finish. Dorian's been able to add about 8 pounds of lean body mass in the past year. He's been sending pictures about every 6 weeks to the muscle and fitness offices back in Los Angeles and giving us a continuous update of what his status was. And it's very rare that you see an athlete who's achieved that level of extreme body mass and muscularity make those types of improvements. So Dorian is going to be one to beat, so to speak, in this competition. We also can't neglect Lee Labrada, who was a second place finisher consecutively for a number of years, came in fourth last year, was a little bit off his peak. I saw him just about 24 hours before the competition. He looks to be right on the money. He's the biggest and the fullest he's ever been. Has the best muscularity. Sean Ray has definitely done his homework. Of course, Lou Ferrigno at about 295 pounds. He was 298 this morning at 295 pounds and 6'5". He will make everyone else look small by comparison, to say the least. We also have some excellent competitors in Francis Benfato, just to name a few, Milo Sursev and Sonny Schmidt, who I think could easily be in the top 5. He's gained more lean body mass the past year, worked on his presentation some. So once again, I think that the margin for error in this competition is smaller than it's ever been. In the same sense, I think it will be the most hotly contested show by far for these reasons.
This is a 3-4 month effort. All of the sets were fabricated in New York and Southold at my fabricating studio and then shipped by sea. And the only way to do it, to keep control. The tough part is going to be breaking down between prejudging and the evening show. That's the toughest part. Because we've got 2.5 hours between prejudging after the hockey game and the evening show. We're trying to make the show look as if it was being produced in New York and trying to give the crowd a great show.
Hey, we're here for a battle. This is going to be war. I got all my Helsinki fans here too. I'm back. Wait till you see me. I was putting my luggage down from the baggage up top, and the strap from one of my bags flipped back and hit me right in the eye. Nothing's working, you know, so I'm really concerned about that. I can only see partially out of one eye, and I can't close the eye because it's like having a rock or a pebble in the eye all the time. It's really painful. I'm here now, and I'm going to be here until we leave, so I just gotta make it work.
I like to try to communicate posing to the audience. It's one of my fortes. I'm working one tonight, especially for each country that I go to. I like to kind of give them a little bit of Vince Taylor. So when I'm posing like that, it's like look for certain areas that lets the crowd know that they're involved in it. I like to give hand gestures just to wake them up, you know, make them part of the whole night affair.
stumbled into the weight room after my varsity coach asked me to play on the varsity team as a sophomore. They brought me up as a running back, and I needed to get bigger. So I started hanging out with the seniors after practice, lifting weights and playing around. And I knew at that time that through weightlifting I was not only going to get bigger and stronger, but it would be the deciding factor in me ultimately breaking and shattering records as a running back at my high school. The gym was called Needham's Gym. I walked in there, and about 3 weeks into my membership at this gym, I met John Brown. And he was two-time Mr. Universe. Asked me what contest I was training for. I was 17 years old, and I was really just training to supplement my football. And the next thing I knew, 5 months later, I was on stage competing. And I got second place and best poser in my first show, and a week later, I won 4 trophies at 17 years old at the California Gold Cup. Once I won my first contest, I knew that I had to make a decision because I was very good in football and I wanted to get a scholarship, and I was only going into my junior year, and I couldn't walk away from football to concentrate on bodybuilding because I didn't know where bodybuilding was going, didn't know how to make any money, didn't know exactly what bodybuilding was all about.
Yes.
So I had a lot of pressure on me from my family and friends and coaches to continue on with my football. That was my meal ticket to go to college, get a free education, and fulfill my dream as a 7-year-old kid to go on and hopefully one day become a professional football player. But I was at a dilemma and a crossroads because at the same time I had just won the Teenage Los Angeles, the Teenage Orange County, and the Teenage California in bodybuilding. In 1985, I went on to Atlanta, Georgia. I won the Teenage Mr. America, and the next logical step for me was to go on to Australia and compete in the Junior Mr. World so that I had the clean sweep of all the titles for my age bracket. And I did. I went to Sydney, Australia, and I won the Junior Mr. World in 1985 at 19, and I got my first cover shot on the cover of Flex magazine. And I don't think there was anything like that experience of being on an international magazine and receiving fan letters. So football didn't provide that self-satisfaction of individuality and independence that bodybuilding was giving me. And it was at that time that I knew that I'd made the right decision to go ahead and follow bodybuilding. Immediately after high school, I had a choice, either get a job or go to school. And going to school was a job within itself. I decided that I was going to go to school because I could schedule my classes around my training. And I was talking to a lot of teenagers that just had a lot of problems because they could relate to me in age, but more importantly, they could find someone doing something good and having a certain amount of success at it and being able to relate. So I decided to get more into the sociology aspect and more into the psychology aspect of what makes these people think and do the things that they do. And that's what kept me in school, is that I became more and more interested. Fortunately for me, though, my senior year at Cal State Fullerton, I also won the Nationals, which qualified me for pro status. I had a tough decision to make because now being a professional, I was going to be traveling not only across the country, but across the world, going over to England and Germany and other countries that would take me out of the classroom. I continued to stay with my studies for another year, and it was just a matter of time before I had to make a decision, and I chose bodybuilding because you're only there as an athlete and you're only on top for a certain amount of time, and when that opportunity comes, you've got to grab it. I knew that the institution of education would always be there, but the opportunity to travel and to make a good living as a professional bodybuilder was limited, and my heart was in the sport of bodybuilding. I feel like I'm college educated, I just don't have the paper to back it up, but I will eventually get it.
Okay, now hold. Hold. On the back shot.
The fast cars, that's me. The nice clothes, that's me. Getting the pats on the back, the more the merrier.
couple of posters out there right now. When I was first started after winning Mr. Universe, I got together with Muscle. What's the name of the magazine? Robert Kennedy's magazine, with one of the photographers, Steve Douglas, and we did a few photos. And we ended up selling a couple of posters to Buquerque in Holland, who put the poster all over the world. And I understand now that there are many, many people who are after this poster or looking for it, and it's very hard to get right now because I think they ran out a bit. I'm not sure if they're continuing it, but I've seen it all over the place. People like it, I guess. Well, I guess it's some type of different way of presenting a poster where it's just shot off at the chin and, you know, a little bit below the belt line, and it's got the buckle undone, and it's kind of a sexist shot, I guess, but I mean, it's something that people like. It's just like any guy wanting a shot of a girl that looks really good, so, you know, girls want a shot of a guy that looks really good.
The bodybuilder actually eats more correctly than does the average human being. You know, from the standpoint of meeting nutritional requirements, you know, proteins and carbohydrates and such, you know, we've got a constant eye on this. You know, whereas the average person eats for taste, we eat to feed our bodies. You know, take it, we need a higher amount of protein than the average person, you know, because of the amount of muscle mass that we carry and the type of hard training that we do. You know, but the bodybuilding diet is very healthy. It's not a health food freak type of a diet. All of the foods that we eat are available in a common grocery store, and basically we emphasize food groups such as proteins, fish, chicken, turkey, and complex carbohydrates such as rice, potatoes, grains, some fruits and such. There may be a higher percentage of fat in the diet in the off season, say 10 to 20% fat intake, whereas before competition it may drop as low as 5% of total caloric intake. But for the most part, you know, we take in the same amount of protein and complex carbohydrates throughout the year, if you're a good bodybuilder, that is. You know, and this leaves little room for extraneous foods. Average advanced bodybuilder would be lucky to get 2 to 5 pounds a year. 5 pounds of lean muscle tissue per year is like Christmas, you know, to the advanced bodybuilder. You know, the beginner has an easier time of it, you know, because the body is unaccustomed to the new stresses that are put on it by bodybuilding as such, so they tend to develop a lot faster. It's not uncommon for a bodybuilder to gain as many as 20 pounds, you know, 10 kilos, you know, in the first year of training with, you know, with proper diet and such. You know, but for the advanced bodybuilder like myself, you know, it necessitates keeping an eye on the bottom line, the total number of calories and the quality of nutrients year-round if I'm going to make any kind of gain at all. We changed up the training this year somewhat in order to gain some more mass. You know, there's been a lot of emphasis on the more muscular physiques of late, and I've taken notice of this. So I've tried to emphasize using heavier weights this year in order to gain mass, and I've succeeded in putting on another 5 pounds of lean muscle and coming in harder than last year's.
Bodybuilding is not only a sport, it happens to be a lifestyle. People are now exercising to be healthy and to keep fit. You have the medical profession now urging everybody to exercise. That's the best way to avoid heart problems and circulatory problems. You have coaches now that are urging all athletes, regardless of the sport, that if they want to reach peak athletic performance, they have to be strong. And the only way to be strong is to do exercise. And of course, you've got the average person who wants to look better and feel better. Fat is not in anymore. You have to have a nice physique, both men and women. So the fitness movement is now general, and it's not limited only to a narrow group of bodybuilders. That's why bodybuilding has grown to such a massive extent that it has.
One of the final frontiers that bodybuilding has finally conquered is the fact that bodybuilding training, the resistance exercises, the weight training, as well as the nutritional habits, are finally being adopted by athletes in other sports. Whereas 20 or 30 years ago, in fact we don't even need to go back that far, even 10, 15 years ago, athletes were actively discouraged from forms of resistance training. Basketball players, baseball players, the coaches used to say that if you weight train or if you bulk up or if you get stronger, it's going to reduce your flexibility, it's going to decrease your performance, you're going to get hurt. And we're finding now and being able to document that the reason why athletes now, baseball players, basketball players, football players, are getting so much bigger and stronger and faster and more injury resistant is because they're incorporating weight training in their normal regimen. We noticed that weight-trained athletes, if they're doing all the movements correctly, have more flexibility than athletes who don't weight train. We know that increased muscular support tends to make joints more injury resistant. We also know the benefits of weight training to be used in a rehabilitation setting after injury. So I think now that we're getting the kind of scientific documentation by some of the more conservative healthcare professionals out there on what proper diet and nutrition and supplementation and weight training is able to accomplish in terms of maintaining or optimizing normal health, we're seeing that cross over into the world of sports and human performance, and that I think is responsible for a lot of the records we've seen in a number of different athletic events, Olympic events most recently, and for the increase in performance in professional athletics across the board. It's a long time coming, but everyone's finally able to benefit.
Bodybuilding is fabulous for girls and for women because it enables you to enhance the shape of your body. It gives you much more control over what your body looks like, and every woman and every girl is concerned with that. Girls are not blessed with natural strength in most cases, so they really have to train to gain some strength. The increased strength, of course, shapes and molds the structure of the body, so it gives the body some shape. Fat just tends to hang around wherever it develops, and women tend to have their fat deposited on their hips and thighs, so they become bottom heavy. By training the body, you can make your shoulders broader, make your chest bigger, make your back broader, and this makes the image of your waist seem smaller and brings down the size of your hips. So as far as just enhancing the beauty of the body, bodybuilding is fabulous. But it even goes beyond that. Developing the body and gaining strength, it helps a woman to gain self-confidence because they become much more self-reliant. Simple tasks of lifting and carrying become much easier to handle. And this can really give a woman and a young growing girl a lot of confidence in herself and her ability to do things in life so that she doesn't have to be dependent on someone else to do things for her. So bodybuilding has a real twofold effect. A real physical one in the appearance of the body and the control you gain over your appearance, but also a deeper psychological enhancer in that you have a much bigger self-confidence and self-belief.
Get the point? Good. Let's dance.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only
now more than ever, people are able to pattern their lifestyle and model it after what we call the bodybuilding lifestyle. And really, bodybuilding competition represents only a very small percentage of athletes out there. But the lifestyle has to do with incorporating exercise and nutrition on a daily basis. And it's kind of interesting. I can identify with Joe's frustration over the past 50 years in the sense that he believed in the bodybuilding lifestyle, as did Ben for years, saying that, look, if you're an athlete, you'll get bigger and stronger and more injury resistant. If you train with weights and follow a proper diet, you'll live longer. Your risk of heart attacks and cancer and other disease processes will be reduced. And it's just now, the past 10, 15 years, that we've been able to document exactly those findings through scientific research. So now the bodybuilding lifestyle, which was something that had more of an occult type appeal, say 20, 30 years ago, is now very mainstream. For example, in a recent survey, 2/3 of all Americans exercise regularly. When I say regularly, they mean a couple, 2, 3 times a week. And they may not have any kind of competitive interests. I mean, when you look at the nth degree competitors who take diet and exercise and resistance training to the extreme to get up on stage and be a competitive bodybuilder, the same types of principles that they're applying in terms of health and nutrition and weight training can be utilized by everyone, no matter what their fitness goals are. And that's what the beauty of the bodybuilding lifestyle is that it's so highly adaptable to fit each one of our individual needs. The bodybuilding movement will sweep every corner of the globe and reach even more people than it does now.
What we try to do is to go to the countries that sometimes are far away, like Helsinki is far away from the central of European bodybuilding, but we know that the Finns are interested in health, they're interested in sports, they're interested in fitness. I've been involved with the bodybuilding movement in Finland since 35 years. When I first came here, there was no bodybuilding movement at all, okay? And I know that we would have a great success here. That's one of the reasons why we selected Helsinki to have our Mr. Olympia contest.
I like going in there with my clothes on because it keeps the heat, you know. It makes me sweat real faster, so therefore I only have to stay in for about 10 minutes. Instead of, if I have no clothes on, it'd take maybe about 15, 20 minutes, you know. So I get it done a lot quicker with the clothes on. And besides, I feel more comfortable with my clothes on. Take them off when it's time for business. I'll drop my water maybe like 2 days out from a contest. Normally I would drink 2 gallons of water up to the day of the show. 2 days before the show, I'll drop down to 1 gallon. The night of the show, well, the night before the show, I will only go like a half a gallon. And in turn, doing the sauna along with dropping your water intake will help you release the water underneath the skin so that you will look and appear a lot more defined when it comes to time for you to go on stage. A lot of competitors are sodium loading and sodium depleting and sodium loading. I think personally for me, when I prepare for a contest, I go on a strict diet. I do everything the same all the way up to the show. So therefore, a week out from the contest, I'm looking almost like I want to look the day of the show. I think that a lot of competitors, when they do certain things like this, they're really taking a chance. You know, it has been proven that the majority of the guys do have it down, but most of them, some of them, you know, are still experimenting. So I don't like to really experiment with anything. I like to go in a contest knowing that how I'm going to look 2 or 3 days out, you know. And just by dropping the water intake, I could maybe lose another 2 or 3 pounds if I have to by doing that.
Kevin, let's go, guys. Shoes on. And wear socks. You don't have any shoes? Yeah.
Mentally, I've been prepared for as long as I can remember when I first started competing. When I go in the gym, I go in, I get the job done, I do what I have to do, to look the way that I want to look for a contest coming up. And when you've trained so hard and you've lived this dream of competing in the Olympia and traveling around the world and all the good things that you can accomplish through the sport of bodybuilding, then it's very worthwhile to train hard and to diet hard for a day as special as the Olympia. When you say you want to be a professional bodybuilder, when you put in your goal that you want to be a competitive bodybuilder, you have a challenge in which you are about to take on in life. You have to be positive. You have to have a mental drive, a focus, something that wants, something in you to make you drive and want to excel. It's a very hard sport, but it's only hard if you give up.
Let's go. Let's go. We're going now, guys. Not lying. That's it. Let's go.
Okay, I don't know where Charlie. Big bicep.
Mohamed Benaziza.
Le problème, c'est que c'est dur parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'Américains. Et bon, il faut savoir que moi, je fais partie quand même des 10 meilleurs professionnels du monde. Mais vous savez, chaque année, il y a des nouveaux athlètes qui arrivent, meilleure forme, meilleure qualité. Et je souhaite faire partie des 6 finalistes. Mais bon, je me suis battu jusqu'à maintenant, je ne vais pas baisser les bras.
Maximo's back.
There was a lot of unemployment at the time in England, and I didn't have much direction in my life, so I spent a lot of time partying and drinking and things like that and getting into trouble. So when I started bodybuilding, it was something really, I felt, you know, something really positive that I could put my energy into. Initially, I didn't start with any aspirations of, you know, competing or anything like that. It was just something to do, to put my energy into, which I felt was going to be positive rather than negative. Initially, I was interested in martial arts, you know, all the Bruce Lee films and things like that. I got interested in that kind of thing, and I was doing karate, and then I started doing a little bit of weight training after I finished the karate, and I just felt, you know, that was more for me. As soon as I started training with the weights, it was, you know, it was like, you know, like I fell in love with them straight away. It was, you know, I was suited to it more than anything else. I have a small gym in Birmingham, which is pretty much my base for my own training. It's only a very small gym compared to the kind of gyms that you maybe get in the States and so on. It's in a basement, and it's really hardcore. It's just very heavy weights, nothing fancy, no saunas or anything like that. It's just strictly geared towards hardcore bodybuilding, and it's, you know, it's doing pretty well.
You okay, Dorian? Yeah, fishing. Okay.
Bodybuilding is getting more popular in England, but we don't get a lot of recognition, you know, like in the States from the media and things like that. There's no coverage on TV and the newspapers and so on that don't really cover bodybuilding at least in a positive way. But it's definitely grown over the last 5 or 6 years. The Americans, they seem to be quite complacent and laid back, especially with their training. You know, whenever I go to America to train over there, it seems like I never see anybody really training very hard in the gyms, where back in England, you know, I think there's more of a working type ethic. The guys in the gym are really going for it and really training hard and everything like that. We might not have the sophisticated kind of facilities and so on that they have in the States, but I think there's a lot more, you know, there's a lot more heart and a lot more guts. I think they had it a little bit too easy in the States, and that's maybe why now you're getting a lot of European bodybuilders coming up and beating the guys from the States. From a financial standpoint of view, you know, I'm keeping my options open. Maybe I'll have to spend some time in the States or move there for some time. You know, I really like it in the States, the weather and everything like that, and the gym facilities are great. But it's just that my roots are in England, so, you know, I have to weigh up all the possibilities and take it from there.
Dorian Yates.
I feel that bodybuilding could have a positive effect on anybody's life. It's something positive to put your energy into, and that's got to be a good thing. You know, as I say, when I started, I never dreamed of being a professional bodybuilder. It's just like happened one step at a time. I started in a small contest and built up from there. But I really feel that I owe so much to the sport of bodybuilding. I don't know what direction my life would have taken if I hadn't come across the sport. So I owe a tremendous amount to it, and it's really changed my life.
New Mr. Olympia will be crowned tonight. in 6th place, and he will take a $12,000 check. Vince Taylor. In 5th place, receiving a check of $15,000, Mohammed Benaziza. Fourth place, a check for $25,000. Give it to Sean Ray. The third place award, you will be getting the Joe Weider Mr. Olympia bronze medal, the Sandow bronze medal, and a check for $30,000 to Lila Brada. Please stay. Second place received the silver Joe Weider Mr. Olympia medal, the silver Sandow medal, and a check for $50,000. And that goes to Kevin Lerone. Presenting the Sandow statue significant of the Mr. Olympia Award will be Joe Weider himself, to Dorian Yates. Joe Weider.
One more, Dorian. Get the legs. Good smile on it. There, good, great.
morning, 6:30, we're on a bus. We go to the airport. We fly to England. We land in London. We take a bus up to Nottingham, and at 5 p.m. tomorrow, England time, we start another competition, the English Grand Prix. And we keep going on for the Grand Prix tour until October 3rd. We go from England to Spain to Germany to Italy and